Kore Kosmou. The Secret Teachings of the Cosmic Virgin. There are many different versions of the Osiris myth, some dating back to the very early Egyptian pyramid texts. The rendition I've based my version on is that recorded by the 1st century Greek biographer and essayist, the priest of Apollo known as Plutarch. I've chosen his edition because it's the one most likely to have been known by both the compiler and the reader of the Kore Kosmou. The story of Isis and Osiris. In a time before the birth of man, in the days of mystery, when all things were young, it came to pass that Nut, goddess of the sky, viewing the beauty of Geb, the god of the earth, fell in love. Her love shone down upon him, and moved by this blessing, his passions were stirred, and he came to love her too. Called to each other, they fell in a loving embrace. Sensing what had happened, Ra, the sun god, needed to take action. With the sky and the earth united, all space was being taken away. He needed to restore order and discourage such disobedience. Using his mind, he sent the god Shu, the lord of the air, to be between them and to make space for life. But he noticed Nut was rich with the seed of Geb, and in punishment for acting without his permission, and to discourage things from escalating, he laid a curse upon her, binding Nut with a spell that made her constrained from birth on any of the 360 days of the year. For in that time, those were the number of days there were. Nut felt her belly tighten, and with her spiritual senses she knew exactly what had happened. Full of sorrow and longing for her children, she knew she had to overcome this. Only one person could break a spell this powerful: Thoth, the very god of magic itself. Her sincere tears fell and sent out their message with them. Thoth, the thrice great god of wisdom and magic, paused in his script writing and heard her call. He knew her cries for help were just, and thus he should help, and he also sensed that destiny was calling for these children to be born. But he knew that a curse of Ra, once spoken, could never be recalled or broken. He needed to find a way round it, using his wisdom and cunning. He went to Khonsu, the moon god, who was in charge of all time, and he challenged him to a contest in drafts. Game after game they played, and game after game Thoth won. Each time the gods wagered more, but Khonsu offered the most, for it was some of his own light he risked and lost. At last Khonsu would play no more. Then Thoth, the thrice great god of wisdom, gathered up the light which he had won and formed it into 5 days, which forever after were set between the end of the old year and the beginning of the new. These days, which were not days of any year, were ever after held as days of great celebration in ancient Egypt. But since this match, Khonsu the moon has not had enough time to shine throughout the month, but because of his loss of light, dwindles into darkness, and then grows again to his full glory. For the light he had lost was enough to make 5 whole days. In this way, the curse of Ra was both fulfilled and defeated, for the days on which the children of Nut were born belonged to no year. On the first of these days, Osiris, the eldest son of Nut, was born, and on the second day was set aside the birthday of Uraeus, the son of truth and power. On the third day, dark Seth, the lord of disorder, came to be. And on the fourth, her daughter Isis shone forth as a light. And her second daughter, Nephthys, was born on the fifth. When Osiris was born, great energy was released that rippled throughout the world. In every holy place there was a humming and movement, and those with eyes to see and ears to hear knew that a great king had come to earth. The hand of destiny was above Egypt. One such holy man was of the name Pymeles, and he gathered water from the Nile, and as he did such, his heart was moved with a divine calling. He knew that it was his duty to find the god Osiris and bring him up and allow him to develop his divine abilities under his guidance. Pymeles took joy in doing what he was bidden, and he also attended the divine child and brought him up as a man amongst other men. When Osiris was grown, he married his sister Isis, for a god could only marry a goddess. And for this reason too, Seth married Nephthys. And this became a custom for pharaohs of Egypt, which followed ever after.